Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. This is True Talk with TruMotion. We're a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your day a little bit better in the process. My name is Mark, followed by my co-host Stephen. Let's get things kicked off. Well, first off, we've got kind of a first and not a first at the same time. We have our first my relationship couple in the dojo. We have Sergeant Donavan Lucas. Everybody remembers him from a few episodes ago. And his wife, Lieutenant Marykay Lucas. So Marykay, let me give you a little bit of a second to kind of go over your history with law enforcement, how you got involved with it, where you're at now, like what do you do for, the highway patrol, all that stuff. So
well, I got into law enforcement right after I graduated college. So I went to college and got my bachelor's degree.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Utah State.
Oh, okay.
So
we've got a student leaving us to go to Utah State
good school.
next week.
Good school.
It sucks. It's okay. I'm just kidding. It's all right. It's great.
Anyway, so I graduated college and got a job with the Utah Highway Patrol as a dispatcher. And worked as a dispatcher for almost 10 years, which is when I met my husband, who was a trooper at the time. And then after we got married and had a couple of kids and things like that, then there was a mass retirement because of some changes to the retirement system at the time. And so it was Donovan said, it's your time to go. So I applied and went through all the testing and whatever, and got picked up. So by the time I'd gotten approved to be hired, it was just a transfer out of dispatch into the patrol.
Okay, so did you have to go through post or anything? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they did all the training still.
Yep.
Okay.
When they hire you, they put you through the academy. So they put you through the academy. You go through all of that, and then I came out to the road in 2006. And started working the road for about 5 years, and then got asked to go over to the investigation section where they did a lot of undercover stuff, and they kind of needed a woman to break up all the dudes going out to the bar, kind of thing.
So you went undercover for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Like real quick. Like let's talk about that for a second. 'Cause I didn't know
what
that.
can you say about that?
I didn't know about that. That's kind of cool. Like when you say undercover, like are you doing like sting ops or like are you trying to do something like was it like alcohol related? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so the division of the investigation section that I was in dealt with alcohol, over service of alcohol, underage alcohol service, compliance with alcohol regulations, whether they were a bar or a restaurant. So we would go in and just, be quote unquote patrons. But we had, equipment to record and notate things that were happening. Usually a lot of what we did kind of spurred from a complaint. So if we knew from one of the guys on the road that they'd been pulling guys out of a certain bar and almost every time they were heavily intoxicated, we would go in undercover and see if we could figure out if they were over serving, if they were serving people that were already intoxicated when they came in, if they were in compliance, things like that. So then we would report them to the alcohol beverage control division, and then they would review their license and practices.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So you did that for 5 years?
I did that for almost 2 years before I got promoted to sergeant. And was taken over to the police academy. So the police academy has a training side and an investigative side. And the investigative side is based on what officers that are currently certified are doing. And if they're doing things that go against the code that allows them to be a police officer and hold the certification, they can be held responsible for that and then also have their certification affected, whether it's suspended or revoked.
Okay. So you must be real popular in certain places, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So you did. So you went to the academy for a while, and
Yep. I started there. I did that for 3 years. While I was there, I started picking up. They started having me teach classes. So that's something I do still is teach classes during the police academy. So anybody who goes through the police academy gets a couple classes from me.
What do you teach?
I teach report writing.
Oh, that sounds way
I
fun.
know it's mind numbing, but it's
Yeah.
but it's one of the most important parts of being a police
honestly,
officer.
You're, when you say that, you're right, because if they write something down incorrect, that could affect
absolutely
a case or or everything. So you're teaching students how to press keys on a keyboard, right?
Not exactly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, write police reports. So they have the correct content. So, they have to describe, what they were doing, why they were called there, what elements of the crime occurred, and how that individual is connected to that crime.
Okay.
So you have to be able to do that in order to get it.
So verbiage really matters.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
We got to be able to articulate too what the person did, or so what actions were taken, what actions I did as a police officer to arrest this person, and make it happen. And you have to put it on paper, because 2 years from now, 4 years from now,
they got to be able to pull it back up and take a look at it.
I got to be able to go to court and say what took place.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
And I always tell them, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen.
That is true. It's sad that we're getting to that point to where you have to take all those steps just to prove a crime that happened, but at the same time, it's got to cover your ass. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, and now we have video and stuff like that. But the biggest thing to do is, I always tell them, look, make sure your video and your report match. If there's a discrepancy, you're going to get torn apart in court.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then, so you're doing that. You're still teaching a little bit, all that stuff. And then you just recently got promoted again, correct?
Yeah. So after I left post, I was a road sergeant for a while. Did a short stint on a TV show.
A TV show.
Whoa.
Yeah. Live PD. It was Live PD. Then now it's called Live on Patrol or something. It's something on Reels. On Patrol Live, I think that's what it's called. But anyway, before that was called Live PD, and I got selected as one of the people to be on it.
Nice.
They threw Donavan in a few times, so you
It's
just
like Robin.
Oh,
There you
wow.
go.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
There
you
we
were
go.
the
Yeah,
sidekick.
you can Google that, Live PD Utah.
Yeah, I'm
and you'll find
gonna
some stuff.
today.
It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so while I was out there doing that, and then I got asked to go down to Operation Rio Grande, which was 2-3 year project
That was
working
a
with the
big deal.
homeless. And I started the outreach program we had there, the homeless outreach. And then that got once Operation Rio Grande was done, that program got continued and transitioned into a community outreach, which still exists today. So did Rio, went back to the road, and then got asked to go into internal affairs because I had the experience from post. And the whole office had transferred out, and the one sergeant had gotten promoted to lieutenant, and they said, you got some experience, why don't you come over? Sure, no problem. By then, Donavan was retiring, so I thought, I'll do something else.
Yeah.
And then I was there 3 years, and then my lieutenant got promoted, and then they said to me, well, you're the best one qualified for the job, so we're going to make you a lieutenant. So I just got promoted in February.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, how many lieutenants are in the department?
So throughout, we have over 600 sworn in our department, and that goes all the way over the entire state of Utah.
I was going to say, that's not just one.
Yeah. So, you've got, 20 something sections, 24, 25 different sections, and each section has a lieutenant that's usually over it. So there's about 30 lieutenants. So I'm one of 30, but I'm only one of 3 women.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, hey, shout out to the women lieutenants out there. It's crazy because, and this is another thing why I have you guys on. I mean, not only are you going to talk about, your time in law enforcement, all that stuff, but also your time in law enforcement as a married couple. Because it's interesting because when you say that there's 3 female lieutenants, the first thing I thought of was like, oh man, they got to have a pretty strong husband at home to deal with that, because it's like rank and like that whole masculine thing. Like, oh, my wife can't outperform me. She can't be blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, it's like that's that's really old school thinking in my opinion. I view it as if you're everybody's contributing to the household.
Sure.
So it's like, if you're doing well, I'm doing well. If I'm doing well, you're doing well.
Yeah.
That that whole high tides raise all ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of men would struggle with the fact that their significant others climbing up in rank.
Well, and a lot still do.
Yeah.
I mean, even to have, you've got a guy that's, a school teacher or construction worker or whatever, and he's got a wife that's a cop. Sometimes, that can be an issue. And it really depends on the guy.
Yeah.
Because I would say, at first, when I first started working the road, I would come home and tell Donavan everything that happened that day. And he'd be like, cool, babe. Right. Because by then he had 10 plus years on, and he's thinking, okay, got that,
Rookie.
Been that, got the t-shirt kind of thing. And finally he says, okay, you have just got to hit the highlights because I don't need to hear everything. I've already done that. I get it.
That sounds like Tuesday.
But at the same time, it's the communication thing.
Yes.
I had no idea I was driving him nuts, and I understood, okay, he's right, kind of thing. But after that, it became more of, hey, I've got this situation. What have you done in the past? And it was so nice to have somebody that didn't judge me or anything like that. I can just say, what did you do in this past, or what would you do? And he would say, oh, well, try this, and like, fabulous idea.
Yeah. I mean, you had that sounding board where you could legitimately be like, I need advice. You've been there, like you said, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Like, what would you do? And not too many people have that ability, or at least that openness, a communication with each other to, like, be willing to do that. Because usually, guys, it's like you're presented a problem, it's like fix it mode.
Sure, absolutely.
It's like, it's like, sometimes you just need to be like, no, you're doing what you need to do. Good job. Like, or, hey, approach it this way or whatever, and it's
right. And where he'd been in the job for a while, I think when I first kind of came along, it was kind of like, just kind of treading on my territory. Like, this is my thing. And so that was initially kind of that. But we ended up taking different paths.
Yeah.
He got into the motors and he was in SWAT and things like that. And I went on to the investigation side and, the internal affairs type things, and then down to Rio. So we totally had different paths and different experiences that we had, and we didn't really, the only time we really crossed paths is right after Rio started. They were kind of short with sergeants and stuff on the road, and he and I ended up working the same shift, but we were co-sergeants. So he had his crew taking one half of the valley, I had my crew taking one half of the valley, and as well as we knew each other and as well as we worked together, we just handled business. And then it was like, hey, how can I help you? And how can I help you? And it wasn't telling each other what to do. It was like, I know what this other person's capable of, and if I ask, he'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pretty much done by the time it needed to be done. You know what I mean? If there was a huge something that took place, a big crash or a big incident, we got the rest of the section. Don't worry about it. The rest of the area, I shouldn't say section, but the rest of the area, and it was easy to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Each other.
Well, and we have kind of this weird connection, I swear. But I can think of something and he'll just say it out loud, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like he knows what all I had to do was say something, and he was on the air going, I got it, and it was just done. So. Well,
and I mean, again, that just goes to the fact of you communicate so well with each other, and you know what each other's capable of, to where it's like, yeah, okay, I know you can do that. Like, hey, I need your help with this. Fantastic. Or, hey, this is going on. I need help with that. And you guys are able to just, like, bounce it off each other. So basically, you're telling me that you two were in charge of the entire valley for a section of time.
Yeah, for three days out of the week.
Yeah, 3 days out of the week for, what was it? We had one day. It was
almost a year.
Yeah, it's probably a year and a half.
Because then, yeah, but
we had the Lucas crew out.
Yeah. But so the troopers would get to bid every 3 to 6 months. They would bid, and our crews would fill up the first, because they liked working with us. We had a lot of fun.
I've heard that, because I've ran into a couple of former troopers that used to work with you guys, and when they find out that I know you guys, they're like, oh my God, they were the best sergeants I've ever had. And one of a former student, his name was Alex. His mom, she actually works at the prison now. Yeah, the Tara Moyer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tara.
Yeah, her son trained for a while until they just moved too far away. They couldn't make it anymore.
Yeah.
She goes, do you know what Donavan Lucas? I go, yeah, he's over at West Jordan. Like, we work out all the time. And she goes, he was my sergeant in the highway patrol. And I was like, get out of here. She's like, yeah, they were the best ones I ever worked with. So you guys are doing something right.
Yeah,
so.
I taught her in the academy, so that's why she remembers me too.
Nice. Yeah, it's kind of it's Small Lake City, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But
one of the funny things too, as far as the couple goes working, at the very beginning when she first came out on the road, the other troopers, the other administrators that were on the job at the time, because obviously we weren't administrators at the time, sergeants or anything like that, were watching to see how we would act with one another. We had a few.
Some in the past, yeah.
Some of the people in the past that were couples and things like that, they would follow each other around and making sure that the other one wasn't doing something wrong or wasn't in trouble or things like that.
Or their personal lives kind of spilled out onto the so it was just like drama city.
Nope, we're professional as much as we can, things like that. So one of the reports one of the videos she shows in her report writing class is a pit maneuver that she does. She ends up, pitting the car, she spins out of control, whatever kind of thing, and her car's totaled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm second on scene. I roll up to the car, and and this is just my guess, but she can tell you probably better. But the anticipation of the people in the classroom, he's gonna rip her a new one.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that. I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna be so mad at me. He's gonna be like, what the hell were you thinking? kind of thing. He comes up, are you hurt? Did you try to pit him? Well, it looks like you did. You might as well have, And so I'm like, oh, cool.
Whatever.
My confidant, my buddy's here to say, hey, well, at least you're not hurt. Let's get you off the freeway, kind of thing.
Good job. Let's call you a record and move on.
And then all he did was get mad at himself for not getting there sooner, so he could have helped me. And it definitely, with our communication style and whatever, that whole thing would have gone way different.
Bad guys faster than what ended up happening.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's not to say, I don't want to put out there like we have this perfect marriage, just like any other marriage. Marriages work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, we fight over stuff. We have all kinds of things, but the communication really helps. And we learned that early on. He used to just kind of stuff things a little bit. And then finally we'd have these knockdown dragouts. And I'm like, we got to start communicating more. I can't have these blowouts every couple of months after you've had it with me. So it really is constant working on it every day.
That's any relationship, though. I don't think it's just cop relationships. I think that's anybody that's out there that's married to each other.
No, I
talk to each other.
I agree, and I tell Shanna the same thing. It's the fact that she's an excellent communicator makes things go a lot smoother than I ever thought they would. I mean, again, like you guys, we always have our moments as well. But it's the ability to talk through those moments that ultimately make or break you. Right. And are you willing to admit things and not admit things? And oh, man, it's just we're me personally. I'm seeing just like everybody I know is getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
What are you doing wrong?
Exactly. What the hell is going on? And obviously, it's we all know it causes two people to make friction. So you'd be like, oh, it's all the woman's fault, or it's all the man's fault.
Yeah.
No, it's both of their faults, and they have to be willing to either understand that and admit it, and be like, oh God, I didn't do this right, and I didn't do that right, and try to fix it. Or we're still just dealing with divorces and all that stuff, and it's like, so we were talking earlier, and I just wanted to give you guys major kudos for. Because how long have you guys been married?
25 years this year.
25 years. I mean, not only is 25 years in and of itself pretty impressive, but 25 years in law enforcement is even more. It's more like 50. It's like, how dogs.
Actually, dispatch is worse.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah. So, like, I always tell people I was in dispatch for 9 years, 4 months, and 4 days. And if you're a dispatcher, you laugh because every day in dispatch is like an eternity. I mean, the phone calls you're getting of people that are needing help, and you're trying to get help there to them. And as soon as help arrives, you've got to hang up the phone and go on to the next call, and you don't get any kind of closure. And so you appreciate when the officers on the road call you up and say, hey, do you want to hear what happened? It's like, oh, please.
Yeah.
That would help. But there are nights you go home wondering, did that baby make it that was drowning in the bathtub or whatever? Or, did that officer or that person or whoever make it? So it wears on you a lot faster.
When you say it that way, that makes absolute sense. Because I think what would drive me nuts is like not knowing what happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've just emotionally invested this much time and effort into something. And they're like, all right, see you later. It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
That's
you're
it?
on the phone for 20 minutes walking somebody through CPR or helping deliver a baby or, any of those things. Can you get to them? Can you find a pulse? And you're instructing people how to do CPR that have never done CPR before.
Yeah.
It takes a toll on you mentally, and you're trapped in the same room. So you're just taking the calls. You don't get to go anywhere. You don't get to get out of your car and walk around, nothing like that.
Well, you just took one call. That one's done or been given to the officer.
Yeah.
The next call comes in, it's just as gnarly.
Or worse.
Or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because it can be
so it just
super.
stacks up.
Yeah, it can be super quiet. You're like, barely staying awake, and then all of a sudden, the phones light up, and it's absolute chaos. And you have to be able to adjust to that adrenaline pump. Just like, okay, time to go to work, and you're going 2 solid hours, 90 miles an hour, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that was exhausting. And all you did was sit at a desk, but it's exhausting.
I bet it is. That. Yeah, I never, like I said, I never put it in perspective of the dispatcher side. I mean, at least with the other side, you have closure, whether it's good or bad. Like, you know what happened. The other side, you're just like on the phone. Next thing you know, phone call's over. And you got to be able to switch gears, like you said, and be like, all right, the phone's ringing again. Like, who else can I help? And
And that was kind of my motivation. It's like, I want to be on the other side of the radio where I be the one that get there. I can be the one that makes sure they get what they need and, follow up with them at the hospital or whatever and find out that, everything worked out okay. But then in turn, I pay it back and I call up the dispatchers and I give them that closure because I know that's what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wild. I mean, maybe we'll get into some dispatcher stories instead of like patrol stories. I was like, holy crap. That sounds like, and I know you guys probably hate seeing, or maybe you don't, I don't know. But like 911, have you ever heard of that show? Shanna loves that damn show.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't like those ones. Like I don't get into like Law and Order or anything like that. The kinds of ones that I get into are the ones that are real life stuff where actually I can watch and maybe pick up something. So one of the ones I like is called Interrogation Raw, and they show the real interrogation tapes sometimes of these major crimes and how they got people to come out saying that they did it or how they linked them to it just by their skills in interviewing. And so for me, that's fascinating because I can always find something I can learn from that. I do like the shows where they have the police videos only because I sit there and go, okay, would that be a violation of my policy? Would I have gotten in trouble for that? Yeah. Would I have done that the same way?
Yep.
Yeah. But that's just me. That's the stuff I like, the real stuff, not the made up stuff. And so that's usually my kind of cup of tea.
Yeah, because I've watched a few of the episodes, and when you're talking about the dispatchers, like they kind of hit on that a lot, where the dispatchers takes a toll on them mentally. And
there's what's the movie out there that I don't know if it has Halle Berry in it or something. It's like The Call or something like that, and it's a dispatcher. I can't bring myself to watch it. I just
that would make sense.
I think it would be a little too much.
Hit home a little too hard. But we're going to move on to the next section of the show, which is the top 5.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. The top 5.
All right, this week's top 5. Stephen had a great suggestion, and we almost went with it. Oh, God, it was perfect. So we'll probably have to have you guys
situationally great.
Yeah, it was situationally great. But we'll probably do that the next time we have you guys on. He suggested top 5 donuts. And I was like, donuts for the cops.
Dude, I could totally go there.
That's
See?
But we wanted to make it...
And they're not donuts, they're power rings.
There you go. That's right. But we wanted to make something a little bit more lighthearted, fun. You're a big music person.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do top 5 karaoke songs. So, Stephen, you're probably the only one that sings karaoke in here. What's your list, man? What are your go-to songs?
I have so many songs, but I'm going to give you 5 of them.
You can give us a couple honorable mentions if you want.
Okay. Well, the ones that I like to do are Crazy Train. I like to do Kryptonite by Three Doors Down. I have a fantastic pirate version of 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton.
Wow.
I don't bring that out very often, but it is
That's special.
very special.
Yeah.
And then anything by what's that? Dropkick Murphys is pretty good.
Oh, really?
You know, get some Irish rock in there.
He's like totally.
And
songs I would never think
like
of.
in the right area, it just gets the crowd wild. Against people.
Yeah.
Workers song, Dropkick Murphys, and then Ain't No Rest for the Wicked by Cage the Elephant.
Wow.
KT Elephant.
Cage the Elephant.
Cage the Elephant. My bad.
KT Elephant.
I don't know what that is.
I don't even know what Cage the Elephant is.
I'll have to check some of those out. All right, Marykay, what do you got?
Oh man, I think mine are a little more mainstream.
Mine are pretty basic.
You know, my go-to is always B-52's Love Shack.
There we go.
You can't go wrong with I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, and Sweet Caroline's always a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
Very good.
That's another go-to because, like I said, it gets everybody singing with you.
Can't not have that on there.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't sing all that great, so if I can get the crowd going, then I'll sing with them,
Yeah.
and they can drown me out a little bit.
Well,
but,
and that's also a good litmus test on whether or not you should trust this person or not. Like if they don't start singing Don't Stop Believing when it comes on, it's like, I don't know if we
Yep.
can be friends.
You're done.
yep,
You're not very trustworthy.
yep. Girls just want to have fun. It's always
Okay.
always a good one, especially
yeah.
when I'm with the girls.
Yeah.
And Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer.
Yeah.
That's always a
Living
good
on
one.
a Prayer is a great one. Mm-hmm. That one will get the crowd hyped
Yep.
up.
Yep, those are the ones I like that gets everybody involved. If they're quiet and staring at you, I don't want to sing that song.
Nice. All right, Donovan, what do you got?
Okay, I'm an Elvis Presley fan.
You're an
Okay.
Elvis Presley fan?
Oh, wow.
I love
Okay.
Elvis Presley, and pretty much any word that is, I don't read super fast or really well, so most of the time it's by memory. And pretty
Yeah.
much his whole genre of music I can sing.
Yeah.
If I hear it.
You can pick up on
He's
it.
pretty impressive.
Yeah,
put Elvis on in the car.
Yeah,
he knows
I could
every
get
word.
pretty much
Oh, wow.
everything.
He's even introduced me to songs I didn't even know
there's a few
were out
that I
there.
Like your blue suede shoes
Oh yeah.
and
Well, no, you
Jailhouse Rock.
Like, no, those are popular ones, but there's things that are out there that people have no idea. You know.
What is it, like Blue Hawaii?
Well,
and-
Blue Hawaii. There's Tennessee Rain. You know, type of-
Tennessee Rain.
Tennessee Rain, yeah.
Okay.
So there's things like that come out, and people like. So any Elvis thing I could probably do would be all my top 5.
and Prince.
A few Prince, not a whole lot.
Yeah, but you sing
But
those
so
by yours.
The funny thing about the Prince thing is I was mowing the yard when this was years. I mean,
On
years
our
and
old
years ago,
house, yeah.
where I had the CD player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh.
he's dating himself
Cool,
now.
You know, with the cool headphones on.
Yeah.
I'm mowing the yard, singing.
Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss from Prince.
There we
Just
go.
belting it
And
out.
I'm going for it.
Oh, and he's doing it just in the same voice. And our neighbor's on the other side of the fence weeding her garden, and she doesn't have earbuds in, and she is rolling. She's just laughing. Then she tells me, so yeah, Donovan was singing Prince while mowing the yard. I'm
Hey,
like,
man.
oh.
You know, the karaoke not so much, but if I'm by myself, you know, I'm
Or
a
in the
hell of a
car,
good
you're
singer in the
good.
car.
Dude, I'm a total carpool karaoke person.
Yeah, totally.
Like we'll belt it out like nobody's business.
Yeah, we get the kids involved. I
Yeah.
mean, our kids are indoctrinated to 80s music from the time they were in the womb. I mean, they have it all on their playlist. So
There you go. So you got Prince and Elvis,
Yeah.
like, so you'd go with. Okay, nice. Well, probably if I was forced at gunpoint to sing karaoke.
oh, you had plenty of alcohol, probably.
No, I'm talking like life or death. Like,
Oh, okay.
Like,
if certain things are not involved, and I was forced to do it, my number one song to go with would be "Tequila" by the Champs.
that's a
Like,
good
all you gotta
one.
do is say
Say tequila.
That's it, 3 times.
Yep.
Okay, say it 3 times, song's over. Okay, and just awkwardly stand there.
That's easy enough.
Then I would go with a song called "You Are" by Lionel Richie.
Oh,
So if you haven't heard that song, check it out. It's actually a pretty catchy one to go with. Obviously, you got "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. This one's a little bit newer one, and I'm not a huge country fan, but I do like this guy. It's "Chicken Fried" by Zach Brown Band. Yeah, it's a great song.
there's a
It's,
few upbeat country ones that I like.
yeah,
there.
it's really fun. So if you haven't heard it, definitely go check that one out. "Regulators" by Warren G.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's probably my only rap song I would go with.
Well,
I can't smoke big fast.
He'd be good until regulators.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So then my honorable mentions are Your Love by The Outfield.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that should have been on my one-hit wonders, but I forgot. Africa by Toto.
Oh, always a good
Classic.
one.
Yeah, and you've already said Sweet Caroline and Living on a Prayer. And this one, again, not a huge country fan, but damn it, every time this song comes on,
You sing it.
everybody will sing it.
Yep.
It's Friends in Low Places. by
Oh,
Earth,
yeah.
Winds.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Every
actually
time
looked
that's-
up some of the top.
Oh my gosh!
top
Every
5,
time
10
that song
songs
comes
that
on, everybody sings it.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
kind of like Red Solo Cup. You know,
Yes.
that one's a good one too. Everybody wants to.
that one's a good one. So, let us know what your top 5 are. If you've got ones we've never even heard of, or ones that we've kind of done already, let us know what you think in the comments down below. But shoot, like I said, I don't like to sing in public. I was in choir in high school and all that crap, but like solo wise, no, you got to be out of your mind. I'm not doing that stuff. Like I'd rather
Yeah, I'm a
get
group
kicked in-
singer too. I'd rather sing in a group.
Yeah, if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to sing karaoke or get kicked in the balls?" I'll be like, "Oh, let me get ready.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and kick me in the balls." It's like with or without a cup. Without a cup, okay, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, but in the car, I don't even care. I'll belt it out like nobody's business. People will stare at you, and I'll be like, "Hey."
Oh, I dance in the car. My kids, I see people look over at me and I'm like, look, I'm having a good time.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sorry that your life's so boring and not fun that you got to look at me and say, "Are you crazy?" I'm just having a good time. So, all right, moving on to the next section of the show.
Come on, it's time to act the senses, baby.
It is Ask the Senseis. Now, 2 out of 3 of these are kind of geared more towards the couple. The last one is and isn't, but it'll be a good one. But we've kind of already hit on it, but I want to kind of hit on it a little bit more. It's with both of you guys working in law enforcement. What has been your secret with maintaining such a strong relationship? And again, I think we've already kind of hit on it with the communication part, but...
Well, one of the other things too is as the guy, if you would, in there, the senior officer, because I just had 2 more years, I had to learn to check the ego.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially in law enforcement, your ego takes place.
Well, you have to have one when you're on the job.
Yeah, you have to be kind of, I don't want to say arrogant, but
It's
you have
confident.
to have a certain presence. Yeah,
Confident.
confidence.
Yes.
And so then your spouse comes into the job, and I don't think either side, it'd be the guy or the woman coming in, or whatever relationship you have in there anymore. You really, really have to check that ego.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that was one of the things, like she said earlier, when she was talking about, she'd come home and tell me all the different things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, really? I know that 1046, which is a public assist, had a flat tire. I don't care. And you took your jack out and you jacked the tire up and you took the tire out.
I was just excited.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was just excited. Yeah.
It's like you
Got your
change
tire. Good.
You change the tire.
Yeah.
change the tire.
I mean,
proud of you.
yeah.
It's over.
It's
Yeah.
it's the funnest job you'll ever get into. I mean, especially if you're interested in talking to people and stuff like that. But for me too, it's one of those where you're like, okay, I gotta realize this is my coworker at work and not my husband, so I can't, freak out if I hear something on the radio. For me, luckily, he had enough time on. He'd been on SWAT. I mean, he'd been in all these other dangerous type situations, and I'm like, I know he's got it handled. So for me, that wasn't an issue. For me, it was more like, okay, I want to see what he's doing so I can learn from him. So I just kind of, absorbed every chance to learn some knowledge from him. I mean, when I first brought my stuff home and had my belt laid out, he goes, nope. And he rearranged my belt for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? And he says, trust me. And then I bring my car home and he's like, nope. And he rearranges my trunk for me. And I go, what are you doing? He goes, trust me. And I
Yeah.
never changed it.
It still looks the same.
Yeah,
today.
it does. But the skill set, I mean, that was just something little.
Well, yeah,
But
I
it gave
mean-
me quicker access and functionality in the job. And that was not something I had to kind of sort through in my own self
Well,
over the
that's not
past few
taught
years.
to you either.
No,
Like,
it's
that's
not.
something that you figure out over experience.
Exactly. And that was what was
So-
super beneficial. But, now I take the opportunity to pull the women aside in the police academy and give them a few tips on being a woman in law enforcement, because having to have all that gear around and then you've got to go to the bathroom or something like that, we don't have that same advantage as the guy. So what tricks do I have
Yeah.
that I can help out these ladies? And I do. I pull them all aside and give them every trick I know. And I say, take it, run with it, see what works for you, see what doesn't. But this is information nobody ever gave me, and I wish somebody had.
Yeah,
And
I was going to say, I was actually going to kind of piggyback on that, where as a woman in law enforcement, there's not classes in academy about being a woman in law enforcement.
You're right.
There's different challenges and setbacks just naturally to being a woman that men don't deal with.
Right.
And, you know, like the gear, like...
We have a lot less real estate a lot of times,
Exactly.
you know, and so you got a bigger guy with a bigger waist, and he can put 15 handcuffs and, you know, 15 magazines on in there, and he's good to go. And we're like, I can fit one handcuff, I can fit like barely my taser. So you got to get smart with that. But yeah, exactly. They don't teach you that because all the training is very generic. So I always tell the women, look, you have a place here in law enforcement. And you may not be able to do everything exactly like the guys do, but you're going to do it different. And sometimes you're going to do it better because women tend to be better communicators, where men have, you know, the muscle and stuff like that. And so sometimes
Women
that
to
goes
be
in.
more efficient.
Well, it's
So-
I've talked more people into handcuffs than I've had to
Yeah.
go hands on. I mean, it's just
Me, not so much.
well, it's a lot of how you treat people, I think. But you know, for women, they just need to know that it's okay to do it different. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it exactly this way. If you've got something else that works, is within the law and policy, you're going to be all right.
No, and I think that's a extremely good point, because everybody feels like they got to do it the same way. That this whole like, you know, women can do everything men can do. I like the concept. I don't like the application or the action behind it, because there biologically will be things
Sure.
women can't do that men can, and vice versa. And that's not a bad thing, and it's learning how to play on your strengths. So if you're an awesome communicator, like you said, dude, talk those guys into handcuffs. Don't even worry about laying hands
Yep.
on them.
Yep.
For men, I think it'd be more of like, dude, I want to oppose my dominance on this person so they comply. Be like, hey, don't fuck with me, man.
Yeah,
Like, I will knock you
exactly.
out.
Yeah.
So like, that's how men
Yep.
communicate, like physically. Be like, I will grab you, and when I grab you, you know you're in trouble.
Yep.
Women,
Exactly.
they grab you, will be like, that's sweet. But yet, you can talk them through stuff, and you'll be like,
Sure.
oh God, like,
You know, but at the same time,
Shit.
when it comes to getting in, you know, fights or altercations and stuff like that, yes, women are going to do it different. But if you take the training seriously,
oh, women will knock
you'll
the hell
do
out
it.
of you.
I mean, I was lucky. I also had a martial arts background.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And so when it came time to go to the academy, one of the instructors knew about my martial arts background. And I was able to catch on to some of the techniques a little bit quicker because of that. You know, and he was quick to point that out. Your martial arts experience is helping you in this way.
And when I say certain things, like, I'm not saying women can't fight. Obviously, in what we do, I know women can fight, and I know women can physically take care of themselves. That's not how they necessarily want to start things. But man, I tell everybody, I go, dude, you don't need to be worried about me in a fight. If I'm with Shanna, you need to be worried about her ass. Like, she's out, like, hold my hoops, and like crazy comes out, and you're like, you're in trouble, man.
Yep.
Be like,
Yep.
I told you.
Almost everybody says the same thing about Marykay. You know, I'm 6'2", 260,
Yeah.
275, depending on my day. She comes out, and they're like, oh, damn.
Well, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
we're-
make me bring
don't-
out the freaking
hey.
drunk monkey.
You want to
It's
go?
on.
Like, I'll tell Shanna, like, she'll kick your ass.
It's over.
Yeah. Even Riker, our son Riker, he's like, Mom, I'm not afraid of Dad. I'm afraid of you. And I'm like, why? He's like, because you just get really mad. So,
Yeah, because you can go from innocent and sweet to like, you know, I brought
Crazy.
you in
It's
this
something you can
world,
say
and I'm going to
crazy.
take you out right now.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
exactly right.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a really good point for men. It's the ego.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a really tough thing to check.
Oh, yeah. It was a challenge.
Yeah,
I
not
had to-
just.
I had to mentally think about it a little bit more than I thought I would, you know, kind of thing. But for the most part, you know, once we had talked about, like she said earlier, I was like, okay, we're cool, you know, kind of thing. And the two different paths that we had in the job was great because I could think she could do the investigative side things and tell me and explain things to me that way, and I could teach her the tactical side of things, and it was a great relationship.
Yeah, you were two sides of the same coin, effectively.
So
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, we complemented each other pretty well.
Yeah.
As far as that, and even though now he's retired, I still bounce stuff off of him.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
this
it's
is
still got all that
this is what I got
knowledge.
going on at work, or this is what's going on out in the field, or whatever. And we just kind of, it's nice to have that sounding board that gets you.
Absolutely. I mean, because most people, when when men get home and it's like, oh my God, all she wants to do is talk to me. It's like, dude, you should be grateful for that. It's like I get home and I can't wait to talk to Shannon. Like, I'll call her on my way home.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, how was the day? I want to know what's going on. Did you have a good one? Did you have a bad one?
Yep. And I've had ladies go, I hate it. My husband gets home and he's on the video game.
Yeah.
And I said, but you know where he is.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was out and gone, then you would wonder. But if he's down there playing the video game, embrace it. Go sit down with him, talk to him, play your own video game, whatever.
Yeah.
But he is there playing a video game. You don't have to worry about it.
There's far more destructive. I mean, as much as I think that, games have kind of robbed people of time and effort and this and that, but you're absolutely right. There's something far more destructive that could be going on.
Sure.
You
And
know.
we all, and this, the shift work, the stress, you got to have some kind of an outlet when you get home.
Yeah.
His, was video games, buying, book and a bath, whatever. I mean, we had that.
You had your ways of
decompression time to do that.
decompressing. And I think that's super important. Again, especially for your guys in law enforcement. If people take away for you to just feel human again, then you're not going to be human for much longer. And then that's when, those rage fits will start coming out. And that's when you start resenting people.
Right.
And it's like, all I want to do is just turn my brain off, blow some things up online, and then I'll be good.
Yeah, whatever works.
Well,
and for him and I, we always, it was always kind of a mental thing. We have a room in our house that was just the cop room, and you only go in there when it's time to get ready for work or take your stuff off. And for us, it was like a persona change, or like a super, the superheroes putting on. And so now it is work time. My mind is set. I've been listening to the radio a little bit to kind of gear up what's going on, what I'm walking out to. And you take that time to mentally prepare for the day. And then when you come home, you take everything off, you take a shower, whatever, and now you're kind of gearing down. And whatever that is, if we have like a half hour decompress and say, okay, you go do you, I'll go do me, and whatever. But you got to take those little things.
It was interesting because I remember both Shannon and I picked up on it when we went to your birthday party.
Oh, yeah.
And you were having all these guys in uniform showing up. It was either your birthday. No, it had to have been your birthday party, not your retirement party.
Yeah, it was your birthday party. It was right after you retired. So it was your 50th birthday.
Yeah, so it was right when you stopped being on the job. And, you had all these guys coming in uniform and this and that right before they were about ready to go on patrol. And we noticed that both of you guys, every time one of those guys left, you all said goodbye the same way. And it was like, it was not shocking, but it was very eye-opening because I was like, we don't talk that way to each other because we always know there's a very high probability we're coming home. But yet, in law enforcement, there's hopefully a very high probability of you coming home, but there's
always that salutation, be safe.
Exactly, yeah. Every person that you guys came in contact with that were leaving, you gave them a hug, be like, love you, hey, be safe. And I was like, man, they say be safe to all of these guys. And it's like, that should be just something that you incorporate in
Everyday life. Huh?
Everyday life. Be like, hey, be safe today.
Our kids got into that. As soon as, I don't remember if they were doing it while you were on the job, but they definitely did it and we were both on the job. And bye, Mom, bye, Dad, love you, be safe.
Yeah.
And they still do it now, even though he's not on the job anymore.
Yeah.
They still do it.
I mean, I just think it's a great thing to just tell people because obviously I've very much gotten into, especially with Shanna and the kids and all that stuff. They say love you to freaking everything. I'm like, do you really need to say that to like, but they say I love you to everything, like everybody. And I'm like, you met this person 10 minutes ago and you say, oh, I love you. Be like, I don't even know his last name. Like, shut up. But it's forced me to kind of being like, Well, if you don't say it now, when are they going to know?
Exactly. And hopefully that's not the last time.
Exactly.
Because it's not, I mean, just because we work in a high stress, dangerous job doesn't mean one of us can't go out there and get in a car accident tomorrow. It could happen to anybody.
Exactly. We live in such a day and age to where there is no guarantee, even though we expect one. And it's sad that we expect to go to bed and wake up the next morning.
Sure.
Right.
And sometimes we lose that appreciation for like actually waking up.
Well, and that's kind of something that kind of hits home, like our most recent officer that got killed in the line of duty. I don't think he expected not to go home. He didn't expect to come in contact with a freaking lunatic. But it really puts it into perspective for the guys on the road, because it just kind of hits you and go, oh crap, that was so easy to happen. And
That could happen to anybody,
and I never would have expected it. But now I got to start thinking about all the things that could happen. But makes you appreciate what you've got, and that you're always watching your back and watching each other's backs.
Do you find that when we have that unfortunate incident where, you have a trooper down in the line of duty, does it change the mentality of all the troopers on for the next few months in terms of like
heightens their awareness? I think it, there's a they say on television shows all the time a routine traffic stop and things like that. And
No
I
such
told you that first.
No such
There's
thing.
no such thing. But during that routine, if you would, for your day in the job, kind of thing. We talk about coming into the dojo. I teach lessons. I do these. I do phone calls. I do the different things. It's kind of the same type of thing in the law enforcement side of things, where I make a couple of traffic stops. I get maybe called to a domestic or a crash or whatever takes place there. That's fine. But the reality of it is that's my routine. But now, somebody died in the line of duty, I need to be more aware. So you get a little bit more heightened, I think, there.
And sometimes it's a training opportunity, not so much that the officer did anything wrong, but it's something to just kind of be aware of, what situations that person in, and always keeping we have to keep our head on a swivel all the time, especially on the freeway. The freeway's got higher speeds and things like that. And the guys in the city have to keep it on a swivel because there's always people walking behind them and things like that. So you just never know when that thing's going to come out of nowhere, and you kind of analyze what happened and think, okay, what can I do differently to make sure I'm more, aware of what my surroundings are and things like that.
How can you make sure that doesn't turn into like paranoia or like prejudice?
And that's how that's the routine. So for example, I have a routine when I make a traffic stop. I exit my vehicle around behind my vehicle, and I make a passenger side approach, because I could very easily be halfway in traffic and get hit by a passing car. So I like to make the passenger side approach. If there's a wall there, I take a quick glance, because I want to know if something happens and I need to jump this wall. Have I got dirt or have I got nothing?
That makes sense.
And we've had a few of those. And so it's just a routine. It's not paranoia. It's just go around the back, look over, talk to them, check traffic both directions, because you're constantly watching, because somebody's paying attention to you for whatever reason. They're distracted now that you've got somebody on the side of the road, and anything could happen. And I've had it happen, been on a stop and just had a crash happen right next to me because they were too busy watching what I was doing.
Man, because I think we talked about it the last time you were on the show. My uncle was a Dane County, Miami Police Department guy for, I don't even know, I don't think that long. But he did like undercover stuff, and then, man, it changed his total perspective on a group of people, because every bad person he came in contact with was of a certain ethnicity, and he's like, he associated everybody of that ethnicity as a bad person now. And granted, he probably could have done things better to cope with it. I've heard he's getting better at that. But yeah, I always wonder with like now going back to the whole marriage thing, it's like you guys say that I'm pretty sure it's that room that like is like, and it sounds silly, but it's like, how can you not take your job home and be like, oh my God, I saw this domestic violence, and it's like you would like start projecting that onto your partner. But yeah, like I said, I think it's that room. As silly as it sounds, it's
change
like
room.
you come in, gone,
Yep.
job's over. If there's something I need to talk about, it's like I'm going to talk about it calmly. And
And we always have a, how was your day? What'd
Yeah.
you do today? You know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
How did it go? Because, you know, he teaches classes now at the police academy. I'm like, well, you know, how'd your class go? What'd you teach? Well, which class were you? Because they overlap now. So I'll teach the class for one thing, and then they'll go see him and go, oh, you're the guy on the video she showed, you know, or whatever. So
Lieutenant Lucas's husband. I'm like, really?
What?
I'm older.
Hey, show a little respect.
Okay.
so funny. Yeah, we got a lot of teasing like that. So when I became a sergeant, he was a sergeant first, and then I became one about 4 or so months later, and then we became the Sergeants Lucas or the Sergeant Lucas squared. And then
Sergeant Lucas squared. That's funny. Okay.
Well, and when, you know, Donavan was in the SWAT realm, so I would always be, oh, you're Donovan's wife, you're Donovan's wife, you're Donovan's wife. And then I started teaching the police academy. And as the new guys started filtering in to the job, now it was like, oh, you're Sergeant Lucas's husband, or you're the other Sergeant Lucas. That was the one that used to get it.
The other.
You're
Like, oh, really?
I am the Sergeant Lucas.
Yeah,
Damn
I'll
it.
show
She's
you
the
the
second
other
one.
Sergeant Lucas. Come here.
Yeah.
Show you
But
that.
but that's where it comes
Yeah.
back to the ego. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, affirmative.
Now I refer to him as the retired
Yeah.
Sergeant Lucas.
Okay.
Until I became a lieutenant, now I'll just say retired Sergeant Lucas, but
There we go.
so funny.
Because lieutenants outrank sergeants now, right?
Correct, yeah.
So that brings up the other thing. So at home,
She's always been. So she was Sergeant Major when we
Yeah.
were Sergeant. I'm going to nip it in the butt real quick.
yeah,
Just to-
I was gonna say because I kind of know the path you're gonna take. Because
He's a guy that's been married a long time, and he knows how to make
yeah,
his wife
Sergeant
happy.
Major when we were sergeants together. Now
Yeah.
it's just section commander.
there you go.
You know, I don't even have to say anything. Just yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I look at it too. Everybody's all like, "Oh, well, who blah 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 blah." No, it's Shanna.
A couple
like,
of
don't
guys
even.
are teasing at the academy. Some of the new guys that know her and me, they're actually cadets that are in the academy. Are like, so you retired because she was making lieutenant, or you couldn't do it first? I'm like, you want to get punched in the mouth, huh?
Yeah, it's like it's gonna be like that, huh?
This is gonna be a tough class for you to pass because
Yeah.
I'm gonna choke you out every
It's
time.
like
you get
mess
in the
with me, and
class.
your first karate class is free.
Exactly.
There you
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's funny because Shannon always uses me as excuses not to do things. I was like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
stop it. Like, everybody knows you're the one that makes all the damn decisions.
Yep.
Well, they don't know that. They think you do. And I was like, oh, stop. Don't quit telling them that then.
You have reached the end of this part of our interview. You will be able to hear more on our next episode. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.